So I was able to beat New Game Plus 7 on all 3 Ranger subclasses recently, and I just wanted to make a quick video to showcase the builds I used, while also going over what I found to work best on Ranger in general. To start off with, between these 3 subclasses, I think we're trying to beat the game for the first time, or for lower New Game Plus levels. I think going either Marksman or Warden would be best. Marksman deals insane amounts of damage with a bow thanks to its passives, where packs of monsters are deleted with the new machine gun weapon ability that replaced the old power shot after the most recent balance patch. Warden, while dealing less damage than Marksman, has great survivability and safety thanks to both the slow and healing provided by Entangle. BeastMaster, while dealing large amounts of damage with its Spirit Wolves, is pretty gear reliant as it is a spellpower build, and is more annoying to get going, which is why I don't recommend it for early on. When trying to push past New Game Plus 3 or 4, I recommend Marksman due to the extremely high amount of damage it can deal, while also being able to deal it at a decent range for safety. While it is more of a glass cannon playstyle due to it not having much healing or defenses, its arrow volley melts bosses where it is likely you'll easily kill the boss before coming close to running out of potions. Warden deals less damage than Marksman, but trades this for its survivability, with Entangle while still being able to clear floors at a decent pace. Its boss fights take quite a bit longer than Marksman does, but again thanks to its survivability, this isn't really an issue. Finally, BeastMaster is essentially Wizard as its Spirit Wolves work the same as magic missiles, but not as spammable due to having a higher cooldown. Similar to Marksman, it is a glass cannon, but since its damage output is a lot lower, and it has an awkward scaling as a spellpower build on a dex class, means that there is no real reason to play this over a magic missile wizard unless you really enjoy the wolf aesthetic. So starting off with the actual builds, we have Warden. For its skill point priority, I recommend initially leaving Mark Shot at 1 point and putting 0 points into Trap. I would immediately max out Rhythm, Survivalist, Windweaver, and Entangle. Here's where I would attune a few important trinkets. I would then come back and max out Mark Shot for the bonus damage before turning to Weapon Mastery. For the skill orb upgrades, I start with Healing Wisps to ensure I have the healing from the start of the run. Beyond that, I prioritize Big Game Hunter, Hot Pursuit, Indie Flow, and Evasive Maneuver. Thrill of the Hunt is decent for additional sustain, but not that big of a deal since Warden has Healing Wisps. Gear-wise, I recommend a dagger with Thundering and crossbow with vulnerability on offhand. I prefer this setup over a two-handed bow just for the additional stats, but dual daggers probably work decently as well for a more melee-focused setup. For prefixes, I recommend physical damage percent, followed by dex, then crit damage, then weapon power, and then vitality. For suffixes, armor penetration, followed by weapon speed, cooldown reduction, cast speed, then boss damage and weapon damage. I rate cooldown reduction decently high just to increase survivability for more tangle up time. I currently use 2 pieces of vitality gear to meet the requirement for cape, and put about 40 points more into vitality for more survivability, and then the rest all into dex. For food, I default to the undead damage rate for drinks. I recommend Mana Leech drink, spell cooldown for Entangle, and the weapon speed drink, though you could also take the weapon crit rate drink. In terms of playstyle during the run, I tend to aggro enemies that back off while dropping Entangle and try to get them from a distance. Thanks to the slow debuff provided from Entangle, you should be able to kill most, though if there are a lot of a range, you'll have to play around corners. For bosses, I just drop Entangle on cooldown for the passive healing and damage, and then make sure to keep up Mark Shot for the additional damage while auto-attacking in between. Now on to Marksman. For its skill point priority, I recommend initially leaving Mark Shot and Rain of Arrows at 1 point, and putting 0 points into Trap. I would immediately max out Rhythm, Survivalist, and Archery. Here's where I would attune a few important trinkets. I would then come back and max out Mark Shot for the bonus damage before turning to Weapon Mastery. Consider putting more points into Rain of Arrows as well, since the damage it deals is actually pretty good, even though it gives spell power. For the skill orb upgrades, I like starting with Fast Shot from the Magic Shop for the reduced cooldown for Arrow Volley. Beyond that, I prioritize Big Game Hunter, Hot Pursuit, Indie Flow, and Thrill of the Hunt. Gear-wise, I recommend a two-handed dex bow with vulnerability. For prefixes, I recommend physical damage percent, followed by dex, then weapon power, and then vitality. For suffixes, armor penetration, followed by boss damage, and etc. I currently use 2 pieces of vitality gear to meet the requirement for cape, and put about 40 points more in vitality for more survivability, and then all of the rest into dex. For food, I default to undead damage spread. For drinks, I recommend Mana Leech, Crit Rate drink, and the 20% damage drink. In terms of playstyle during the run, I run up to a group of enemies, press Arrow Volley, and then watch them disappear. If on the later floors, I like casting Rain of Arrows just in case there are a few stragglers with a bit of HP left, and it should do enough damage to clean them up. On bosses, I stay as close as I can, and press arrow volley while maintaining the damage bonus from mark shot, and occasionally pressing rain of arrows in between volleys for free damage. Finally, we have Beastmaster. For its skill point priority, I recommend initially leaving mark shot and wolf pack at 1 point and putting 0 points into trap. I would immediately max out Spirit Wolves, Rhythm, and Survivalist. Here's where I retune a few important trinkets. I would then come back and max out Mark Shot for the bonus damage and Wolfpack before turning to Open Mastery. For these skill upgrades, I like starting with Relentless Hunters from the Magic Shop to help with mob clearing. Beyond that, I prioritize Restless Spirits, Big Game Hunter, Hot Pursuit, and the Flow and Thrill of the Hunt. Now gear-wise, I recommend Powerful Dirk with Vulnerability, and then a Toeman offhand with Sundering. For prefixes, I recommend Physical Damage %, followed by Intelligence, then Spell Power and Vitality. For suffixes, cooldown reduction, followed by cast speed, armor penetration, and mana cost. Mana cost is rated decently high due to the new spell Power Mastery increasing mana cost drastically. I currently use 2 pieces of focus gear to meet the focus requirement for cape, and 1 piece with vitality for HP plus regen, and put 40 more points in vitality just for safety, and the remaining points all go into intelligence. For food, I default to the undead damage bread. For drinks, I recommend cooldown drink, spell crit rate drink, and 20% damage drink. In terms of playstyle during the run, it plays exactly as a Magic Missile Wizard, just casting Spirit Wolves from a bit away and kiting around corners for safety from projectiles. On bosses, I make sure to keep Mark Shot on the boss and just spam Spirit Wolves. That's all I have for today's video. I apologize for it taking a while to come out, but I've been super busy with work recently and have been playing less in general. I also do want to note that this was all from prior to the most recent 10th patch. I haven't been able to play the patch yet to try out the new changes, but we'll be doing so soon. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and hope you have a great rest of your day.